This is Kickin' and Streamin' Podcast, a binge watcher's guide to streaming movies, TV series, and stuff. Here are your hosts, Graham and Jocelyn.
And hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kickin' and Streaming Podcast. My name is Graham, and with me today, as usual, is the absolutely fantastic Jojo. Hello, Jojo.
How did you, Graham?
Jojo, we're doing fine. We're doing all right. It has been kind of a week here in the United States, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And one could even say it was the week from hell.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. So you're in California and fire is still burning, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. We got a slightly smoky day today.
Slightly smoky day.
Slightly
That's
smoky.
part of your weather. Your weather.
It used to be partly cloudy, I guess, but now it's slightly smoky. So.
Slightly smoky.
Yeah.
In Texas, the Handmaid's Tale took over thanks to the Supreme Court of the United States.
Texas has declared war on women.
Yes. So there was that, and also there was Hurricane Ida in the Gulf, right?
Yes.
So
Flooded New York City as well.
Flooded New York City, New Jersey. New Orleans is
Yep, New Orleans.
devastated. New Orleans.
Yeah, it went overland. I think it's the first time this has happened, that a hurricane has gone overland from New Orleans, the Gulf area, on up all the way to New York and cause that much devastation. Usually they go back out to sea and gather speed and then come. Yeah. So no, climate change isn't real.
No, it's not.
No.
It is not.
It's fake
Right?
news.
So there's all of that. Just to survive all of this bullshit, we find some things that are worth watching on the different streaming platforms, and we bring it to you in case you don't know, so that you don't have to scroll around looking for something. Right. So today we are discussing a new show which is on Hulu. And unfortunately, I know that Hulu is not an abroad thing, because I've been abroad and I've attempted to open Hulu, and it tells me, yo, you can't do that because you're not in the continental US. So sorry, folks that listen to us in other countries. You can certainly have a look to see where you can find this show, where it could be available in your part of the world. But the show we're talking about today is called Only Murders in the Building.
Yes.
About 2 months ago, in one of our What's Streaming Next Month thing, we did talk about it, and it sounded so far. It's a bit hard to believe that it's already here and it's already 3 episodes in,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But Jojo, tell me, what do you think?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know I say that a lot, but I did. I love Steve Martin. I have always been a fan of Steve Martin for as long as I've known he existed. I have read all his books. I've seen almost all of his movies. If Steve Martin is in it, I'm going to watch it just because I love him so much. So he stars in this, and he also writes the episodes, co-writes the episodes. So I was super excited for that. I love Martin Short, and I know he's one of those actors, I think, that gets on people's nerves sometimes, but he's never really had that effect on me. He's always made me laugh.
Really?
I mean,
Martin Short? And there are people that don't like Martin Short? I didn't know there is such a thing.
Yeah, there are people, and they're pretty vocal. Like they can't stand him.
Fuck off. Seriously. No. That's my dude, man.
Yeah, I don't understand it, because I love him and I find everything he does hilarious pretty much. So I don't get it, but he's in it. And then Selena Gomez is in it, who I've not been exposed to her acting, having been a little bit in the wrong generation to have seen her in Wizards of Waverly Place or anything like that. I think the bridging of the generational gap between the 3 leads is a cool thing to see.
It is absolutely, it's a riot, as they say. It is a riot. But yeah, I take your point in the Selena Gomez part, because a lot of those former Disney stars, we tend to forget that sometimes that at some point they used to act, because most of them go into singing, and some of them they remain actors or whatever. But in the case, for instance, of Selena Gomez, I think we've largely associated her with music only. This is actually going to be a short episode, in that this show is still ongoing. It's only three
Yes.
episodes in.
Yes.
So we probably won't have a verdict. And if we do have a verdict, that verdict is biased. If you want to just put it in perspective for our audience, especially for those who it might take them a bit longer to get to this show, because again, it's on Hulu, and Hulu is not necessarily available everywhere.
Yes.
So Jojo, take it away, Jojo.
So when this podcast drops, it'll be the fourth episode should have aired. But it's currently on 3 episodes at the time of recording. And it follows 3 strangers who are hooked on or have an obsession with a true crime podcast. So when a tragic event happens in the building that they live in, they are convinced it is a murder. So the 3 of them kind of band together and do their best to solve this mystery. At the same time, however, they're recording everything and turning it into a podcast that they are producing. And hilarity ensues, and there's a lot of characters in the show, because there's a lot of people in the building that they're interviewing, and there's cats and dogs, and it's just, there is a lot going on, and it's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, let's not forget about the podcast part.
The podcast part is very important. And a big part of why I wanted to talk about it too.
Look, this female cop, I don't know if she has any other appearance in the show, but like her line was so dope.
It's a fabulous line. It's a fabulous line. It is so true, because as we know, as being in the podcast world, if it's true crime, it sells. People watch it
Yeah,
and love it and listen to it and everything else.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and if it's, and the same with television, there's whole TV channels devoted to true crime. But yes, her goddamn true crime fucking numbnuts is just goddamn true crime fucking numbnuts.
That was so,
Yes. I loved her. Like, I wanted to see more of her. Well, hopefully we will see more of her,
I
because
hope so.
she was just, it was like 100%. I am over y'all. Get
Oh
the
my
fuck out
god.
of my face. Get the fuck off of my floor. Go listen to your stupid podcast somewhere else, or watch your stupid TV show. Get the fuck
Oh,
out of my way.
dude, she wasn't having it. She wasn't having it.
Nope.
And lo and behold, they came up with a podcast, which, by the way, ended up being the name of this show, right?
Yes.
Only Murders in the Building, which I find actually very, very cool.
I also love the fact that they were recording in a closet, and Steve Martin was overheating, and it was lovely.
It's like, why wouldn't are we doing this here? The
Acoustics are
acoustic is,
great.
oh man.
So, folks, if next time I'm in a closet and there's clothes around me, you'll know why.
Yeah. Right. So let's talk about those characters, Jojo, because I find that each one of them has a very interesting story. And even though the character that Selena Gomez plays is a bit more obscure, and when I say that, I don't mean it in a cute way, but rather obscure for dark. Like obscure in French is the only word we use for darkness, and in that respect, I mean her character is dark.
Yes.
But yeah, what do you how do you make this encounter? How do you bring these 3 characters together with such casualness, if you will?
I think part of the reason why it works is obviously the cast, but the overwhelming theme of aloneness and lonesomeness And the fact that these are three people from very different backgrounds who aren't friends at all at the beginning of this series, but they all seem to share a common need and a common thread in that they need somebody and they don't have anybody.
Right.
And I think that's something that can resonate with all of us. I think all of us at some point, even if we're the most introverted person in the world, at some point we want somebody, we want our dad, or we want a close friend, or we want somebody, and sometimes that person is gone or not available. And I think we've got some hints of that in the character of Steve Martin is playing. There was a few questions and a few little things that seem to be happening with him. I think they're going to open up his character a little bit more.
Yes.
And the same with Selena Gomez's character and Martin Short's character. So I felt that having them all in the elevator it may be a cliche, but I thought it was nice because it is a place where you're going to meet people whether you want to or not.
Yes.
And the way they all came together over the podcast. So I felt as though that this, and it's just the first 3 episodes, but the theme of loneliness, of lonesomeness, of wanting to have a group kind of works well. And I think that's part of what helps with the generational gap.
I think people misunderstand the choice of being alone with loneliness.
Yes.
And I listened carefully, never referred to them as being lonely, but lonesome. In the two things are different in a certain way, and there is such a thing as being alone by choice.
Yes.
But at the same time, there is the possibility of finding company even while you are intent on being alone.
Exactly. And when you have the introverts bubble, there are people that can come inside the bubble and they don't drain you. They don't make you feel exhausted.
Exactly.
And I use the word lonesome because for me, the word lonesome as opposed to lonely has always meant that you want somebody. So yeah, I think that all three of these people are introverts in their own way for their own reasons. Certainly not pathetic by any means whatsoever.
Exactly.
But wanting somebody and maybe not being able to have the somebody they want and just sort of happen to find each other. And it sounds like maybe that they're able to be in each other's bubbles without too much.
You can see the dynamic of the group. They break away when they need to.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like none of them are needy enough to want to be in each other's presence the entire time.
Yes.
And that's what us introverts we want.
No, I was just going to say, I think that that's rare in television and in movie writing. Not that it doesn't happen, but it often seems like once people become quote unquote friends in a series, and they're joined at the hip.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
And,
true.
they're always together. They're always going out together. They're always doing that. They're always doing this. And I mean,
So much so you ask yourself, when the hell do they go to work? Like
right.
like Seinfeld, for instance.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I know Jerry was a comedian. All right. But hardly did you ever see him do a gig. Yet he didn't have a day job, Costanza was there all the time. Elaine was there all the time. We know
Yeah.
that she was always coming from work and stopping by Jerry's, but when do you work? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
do friends really spend that much time together after high school? Like, come on.
not in my experience. From what I understand, some people do, but I mean, I personally am an introvert, and so I've surrounded myself with introverts who understand that sometimes you just need your own space. You just you just it's not because I'm mad at you. It's not because I don't want to be friends anymore.
Yeah,
I just need to be on my own for a bit, reading a book or
I'm gonna
watching
take
it.
a break.
I'm going to take a break. Yeah, exactly.
So the case here that we're talking about only murders in the building. So, it speaks for itself. So something happens there and the three of them come together to kind of find out because somehow it doesn't make sense to them. that whatever happened, right? So we're not going to give it away like that. So even talking about the cast, we don't have much to talk about. There's quite a few people that pop up here and there, including one of my favorite, which is Nathan Lane.
Yes, I was so excited to see him. I'm like, that's Nathan Lane. And my husband is like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yes, it is.
My wife did the same thing. She was like, isn't that Nathan Lane? And I'm like, yep.
And it was great to see Tina Fey too.
Tina Fey, yes.
Yeah, Tina Fey as the podcast host. So maybe she'll be back. I don't know. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
And there was and of course Sting. So
Sting.
with one of the most fabulous cameos I think I've seen in a while.
Sting.
from anybody.
Yeah. That was, oh my God. I was like, so they got him. They did have him. It like the character they portray on Sting is definitely not how Sting is. Like, it's like, no, dude, this guy is a Buddhist. Stop it. In the elevator, he's so rough.
He is. I bet he had a lot of fun with that, honestly. I think he had a great time.
One of the things I've read about the show is that the entire filming of the show, Martin Short and Steve Martin kept roasting each other. And like the entire crew would just gather around and just watch these two go at it.
That's the kind of thing where you're like, how did this ever get even finished? Because
but they do it also within the show, which is great because they bicker so, and it's so perfect. Like, how do you keep this so hot? Why do we have to do this here? And then the narcissistic theater director that is the character of Martin Short, he's always has some criticism.
He does.
He wants to do everything. Everything is about theater for him. Everything is like, we're casting, we're doing this. This show is fabulous, people. We don't have enough material to talk about this show because it's only been 3 episodes.
Yes.
But here's what I would suggest. Find this show, give it a watch. Like Jocelyn said earlier, by the time you listen to this podcast, there'll be, of course, more episodes of Only Murders in the Building. So you probably will have at least 4 or 5 episodes to watch. And if you happen to find this podcast in a month or so, then by then it would be probably done. Because it can't be any more than 8 or 10 episodes.
What I read was it's going to be 10 episodes.
Okay, so almost halfway there.
Yeah.
But highly recommended. But there's nothing to not like about this show, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Even though there's very dark parts of it, and it's definitely not something you'd watch with the kids. To me, it never swings so dark that it's depressing. It's always comes back and is funny.
And I always go back to the clever writing, which is what attracts me the most about this show, is the fact that the way the hints about each person's backstories are dropped, it's dignified, if you will.
Yes, I love a show that will presume that you have some brains in your head and not slap you with a clue or whatever, like a fish on the head or something,
Yeah.
So I love the fact that what we're getting is subtle and is not, there's no like music strike or whatever and that kind of thing. So yeah,
I'm very interested in the story of Steve Martin's character, particularly.
Yes.
Because of what we think happened. Martin Short's character, the story is sort of like it's already almost self-explained. And I think in episode 2, they kind of give you a bit more of that.
Yeah. Episode 2 and 3, we get a little more about Martin Short's character. And along with Selena Gomez's character, we kind of get that in 2 and 3. But Steve Martin's character is still mostly a mystery.
Yeah. And when she introduces herself as Mabel,
And
I
they
thought
were
I
like,
wanted to die. No, but really, what's your oh?
oh, I know. I know. I loved it too because it was exactly the reaction I would have had. I've been like, yeah, that's good. What's your real name? Oh,
But here's the thing, though. It is presumable, of course, because she refers to uh, her aunt as something Ramirez. So it is presumable that her character is, of course, Hispanic because Selena Gomez herself is Hispanic. And one of the most popular and beautiful names in Spanish is Mabel. But of course, it's a very different pronunciation. It's Mabel,
ah,
right? So you will find a lot of Mabel in
okay.
in Spanish speaking world, but once you translate it into Mabel, it sounds like it's 150 years old name.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
Right. So the show is called Only Murders in the Building. As it is Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez, and a whole bunch of absolutely funny people on the show.
Yes.
So this is probably a good moment to tell you that you can follow us on social media. We are on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. And of course, if you are watching us on YouTube, this is the moment where you probably should go ahead and bang, hit that little like button, and then also hit the little bell, bing, bing, so that you can tell when we have posted something new. We would like to hear from you. We always want to hear from you. So then you can go to kickingandstreamingpodcast.com, our website, and on the homepage, if you click on the little microphone, it will let you record your own voice clip so you can send us a message directly. So once again, it is this time where myself and Jojo, we are going to call it a day, Jojo, right?
That's right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Kicking and Streaming Podcast. If you found value in our content, please subscribe and share. We would also be delighted to hear what you think of this podcast. So please rate us by writing a quick review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all major social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Join the conversation happening today on our Facebook group.